I suppose my leadership style, I've always been a huge fan of empowering people. So having the best people you possibly can in the right job at the right time, and then more or less give them the tools to do their job and get out of the way. I don't think it's great to have people who are really good at what they do and experts in their field and then constantly try and tinker and mess around with what they're doing and question and so on. I think it's important to be engaged and understand what's happening, but basically allow them the space to make great decisions, because that's what you ask people to do, right? So even from my earliest part of my career, I learned the value of empowering people and helping them to make good decisions. In terms of the business performance, it's always been excellent. So yeah, that's I suppose what I talk about. Well, you have to be comfortable to let them make mistakes. So, and I have a deal, if you like, with all of my team, and I say, look, I'm always going to back you up. I've always got your back. So feel free to make the decisions that you think are the right decisions. And if it doesn't go brilliantly, we may have a talk about why it didn't and what we can do next time, but I'm always going to back you up to the company, the client, the team, whatever it is that you need your support with. So you should feel totally comfortable to make decisions that push the boundaries a little bit and try new things, because if we're not experimenting and we don't feel like we're in a safe space to be able to do that, then what are we doing? And that, again, is the nature of empowerment for me. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if you're not making mistakes at all, then what are you doing? You know, you're obviously just repeating what you've done in the past. And I think that isn't furthering the business to its maximum potential. And also as an individual, you aren't exploring what you're really capable of doing. And then that creates some stagnation. And obviously, you know, that stagnation or complacency is the enemy of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, how long have we got?
All the time you need.
Yeah. I think when we talk about operational success, let's talk about the hotels, obviously, and how we deliver maximum efficiency or maximum guest satisfaction or maximum commercial performance in each hotel. And there's a whole raft of things that we do as an organisation, but I suppose if we had to narrow it down to a couple, it would be helping general managers to really make the most of what they have in their hotels. Because every hotel has a thread, right? It has a story to tell. Mm-hmm. And if the team at the hotel can really recognise what that is, and it can be, you know, a small hotel, a big hotel, a hotel in a great location, a hotel in a secondary or tertiary location, but every hotel still has that thread, that story. And if you can build around that with your team and communicate that story properly to the market, then you can have a great performance, both commercially and operationally. And if the top line's doing well, then a lot of the other problems in the business tend to disappear, right? So you want that kind of virtuous cycle where the revenue's going well, your market share is positive, and then that helps you drive efficiency, and you've got the flexibility in the business to try new things. Well, that's what's fantastic about our business. Mm-hmm. I mean, each hotel is completely individual. Mm-hmm. You know, we get compared a lot as an industry to rental cars or airlines and other sectors of the travel industry. And I think that's a very relevant comparison in lots of ways, but the key difference that hotels have is that they're individual. You know, a 777 or an A380 or a Ford Mondeo or something, that they're consistent. No matter where you are in the world, those things are consistent. Whereas hotels should have a sense of place, because you can't move a hotel around, right? So the building has to tell its own story, and whether that's a brand new building or it's an old building, and it should feel like, I always say that, you know, there should be a vision for the hotel, individual. We have a company vision, of course, and that's the guiding light that we try and deliver overall our business vision. But each general manager and each hotel can have their own specific way of doing business and their own specific way of talking to customers within the brand framework. And I think if you try and stifle that, then you kill the creativity and you kill what's so exciting about this business in the first place, and why a lot of people, including me, got into it. every day is completely different. I mean, the thing about the hotel business is it's a complete business. So you are doing consumer marketing, obviously. You're doing data analytics. You're trying to understand pricing and yield. You're also doing a lot of people management and talent performance and trying to make sure your team is absolutely optimized. Then you're also doing contractual issues and legal and sales and business development, and you're also taking a raw material and putting it through a manufacturing process and then retailing that raw material, in food and beverage. And you've got this incredible diversity. And if ever I feel that I've done one too many emails or read too many reports, then all I have to do is go into a hotel and you get refreshed, because not only do you have all that variety, but what really attracted me to the business in the first place was working with people. And hotels are all about people. And I like to think our office and the team that we have and the organisation that we are is founded on great people and treating people as well as we possibly can. So I hope I can convey that I still am very excited by this business. I love it. When I first got into the industry, I actually did a university degree in mechanical engineering, completely unrelated. Didn't like it at all, but all the time I was working in initially restaurants and then eventually bars and hotels, and I just loved it. If I was rotated to start a 3 p.m. shift or something, I'd turn up at 11 a.m. I don't want to get paid, I just want to be in the hotel, I want to work, I want to learn, and it was like a family to me. So I've never really lost that enthusiasm. It's just a bug that bit me, got under my skin. And sure, I mean, we're quite fortunate that when our company was formed in the sort of mid-90s, we had some Scandinavian roots. And we always had responsible business or sustainability at the core of our organisation, even way back in the late 90s, when really as an industry we weren't talking about it. And we still had then sustainable amenities, and we had sustainability programs and community support programs in all of our hotels. So it's something that's been kind of normal or business as usual for us to have strong sustainability programs. We've reduced our carbon footprint by 30% over the last 5 or 6 years. We've got a target to reduce it by another 30% over the next 5 years and be net zero on science-based targets by 2050. So we're fully aligned with both the Paris Agreement and the most recent COP conference. So I like to think we take a leading position in what we do, and it's not just me saying that and as a company representative. If you go to our hotels, you will see actual live examples of these things happening. So whilst we have a program that allows people to use some of their Radisson rewards points, just a couple of hundred, and you can offset all the carbon for your stay. We engage customers in green housekeeping programs, but also at hotels, you'll see there's no plastic, single-use plastic, for example. There's solar in a lot of our businesses now, especially in the Middle East. And there's a reuse towel program that's really heavily implemented in all of our hotels. So waste separation, individual programs to make sure that we're not damaging the environment or as little as we possibly can. So there's a lot of hotels really personally engaged in this because it's been a culture for us for a very long time. I'd struggle to pick out individual locations. I think it's more about what the team at the hotel is able to do and how motivated the leadership is. Because we have our corporate programs, as I said, and we've made some great progress in terms of reducing water usage and electricity and so on. But really, if you've got a team at the hotel that's fully engaged, then you make a big difference. I think where I would go is building standards. So in Dubai, for example, we opened the Radisson Red and Silicon Oasis, and that's a gold standard LEED certified building, which means it's incredibly light touch on the environment. And that's about as good as it gets in terms of the amount of insulation and energy use minimization you can possibly have. And that's something that we've incorporated into our brand design standards. So we're rolling out new hotels that are more environmentally friendly than ever before. So I suppose locations that are more developed in the Middle East and in Africa are more willing and more ready to build hotels to those sort of specifications than perhaps less developed locations where traditional construction methods still abound.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the heart of everything we do. I suppose what I say to the teams is that, a hotel, you can have a wonderful hotel, brand new, gold taps, knee-deep carpets, whatever, right? A really fantastic building, but it's nothing until you put people in it, and those people are going to deliver the service and the experiences. And conversely, you can have a hotel that's, needs a renovation, it's been operating really well for the last 8 or 9 years, and it's time for a refresh, but the quality scores of that hotel can be higher than a newer hotel, which is, objectively better, because the team at the older hotel are delivering a better experience and are more focused on the customer experience. And that is something that is absolutely critical to me. So when we talk about, if I talk about how much time I spend in my day on different aspects of the business, then a lot of it, I guess probably the biggest part of my day, is on how do we manage the team, how do we develop people, how do we make sure we've got strong and diverse, geographically, gender teams across our businesses to make sure that we're doing as best as we possibly can. We've had some really cool openings over the last few months. I'll highlight a couple. We opened a Radisson Collection hotel, a really beautiful 5-star hotel in Riyadh called Mansard, Radisson Collection Mansard Hotel. It's really a special hotel, and if anyone's passing through Riyadh, I encourage you to give it a go, because it's something that you may not have seen before. We also opened another one in Riyadh, the rush to Saudi is on, and that's the Radisson Blu at the RISEC, or the Riyadh International Convention Centre, just walking distance there. So we're excited about our expansion in those markets. We opened about 18 hotels in 2022. We should do slightly more than that in 2023. And what I was really pleased about was that in Africa, we open more hotels than anybody else. So whilst we don't always have the biggest pipeline of hotels, what we seem to be better at is actually getting those projects open. And particularly in Africa, some of the brands will have enormous pipelines, but then they get delayed and delayed and delayed, and there's an element of washout. Whereas because we're not a listed company, there's no pressure on our share price by having an enormous pipeline number, which isn't ever going to be materialized. So we have a much more realistic focus. So we know these hotels are real, we know the pipeline's absolutely real, and we're going to focus on getting them open. And our openings department does an amazing job of really working with the owners, solving problems, bridging the gap, being pragmatic in terms of the solutions instead of just, no, it has to be this way because it's Radisson, and getting them open. So we had 8 or 9 openings in Africa in 2022, which, as I say, there was a report sent out by a research partner just this week, which showed us as number 1 in terms of opening hotels.
Well, congratulations.
Well, it was a good story. I mean, now we've got to continue doing that, right?
Yes, indeed.
I suppose everyone's talking about AI. ChatGPT's, brought it to the forefront for everybody, and it's almost like magic, isn't it? It's almost like witchcraft. How does that work? How does it happen? I'm sure you've all tried it, but you ask it a complicated question, and it gives you a great answer, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. So how are businesses going to adapt to that? In the hotel world, there's 2 elements. One is customer experience, and the other one is efficiencies. So when we talk about efficiencies, I think there's a real space to maximize how we use technology with back office tasks, because there are still in hotels pretty simple, sometimes repetitive tasks that just need to be done. Invoice filing or night audits or whatever it may be. And the more we can use technology to automate those tasks, the less we need to ask people to spend time on that when they can actually be out helping the guest and doing what really matters, and probably what they enjoy doing a lot more than filing invoices or whatever that may be. So that's one aspect of it, and it's an important aspect because we need to deliver as much profitability as we possibly can for our partners, and it's an increasingly competitive market. One, and the other one is how we address customers. I think now, we have a debate at the moment about, do we really need a telephone in the room? Because, and I know there's safety and security concerns, and there's reasons why we should probably keep a phone in the room, but the number of times a guest uses a phone in a room is falling off a cliff. I remember 20 years ago, we used to actually track telephone revenue because you could make money from guests using the phone in the room to call internationally and so on. And now it's completely ridiculous, of course. But how do we communicate with customers both pre-stay, during stay, post-stay, and it's all through a mobile phone. Now, do you use a person to do that, or can you use a chatbot to assist with simple questions? We're right on the edge of that. We've tried a couple of chatbots. Actually, I think whether we didn't use the right ones but it was a more frustrating experience than I would really wanted it to be. So we went back to that's not going to work for our customers. But it's coming, right? So we need to be ready and accepting of that fact and be able to address that with our clients and with our customer markets and with our teams as fast as possible. Well, we've been working really hard on our own PMS, our own property management system. And what that gives us the ability to do, it's called Emma, every moment matters. And what that gives us the ability to do is be masters of our own destiny when it comes to technology. So if we decide we want to have a new feature, like a simple one would be online check-in, or get a push notification on your phone overnight on the day you were checking out. So you wake up and you go, oh, okay, I can just pay with one click now. I don't have to go to reception. So those sort of simple things that make a guest stay less complicated, you always have the option to go to reception and do it the traditional way. But for a lot of business travelers in particular, that's a really attractive thing to do. And I use it when I travel. Previously, you'd have to go to your technology partner and say, please develop an API, an application programming interface, that allows us to put this feature within our Radisson Hotels app. And now we just do it ourselves. So it's been incredibly complicated and quite expensive, a big investment to develop this technology, but it's absolutely the future of where we are and where we're going.
I really like Emma so far.
Yeah, it's great.
So, Tim, what I'm going to do now is I've got some rapid fire questions for you. They're this and that question. So I'm just going to give you two options and then you pick the one that speaks to you the most, the instant one that comes to mind.
I'll do my best.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Red or white?
Red.
That's always a tough one. Sugar or spice?
Spice.
Store-bought or homemade?
Homemade.
Glass half full or half empty?
Full.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Tim. This was a lot of fun.
No, me too as well. Thanks very much. I hope it was useful for you.